Gang, we all know Spotify is the best and most popular streaming app. They have millions of songs by millions of artists available at your fingertips. But did you know that aside from millions of songs, Spotify now has thousands of podcasts? All of your favorites are on there, including Fresh Air, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and of course, How Did I Get Here? That's right, we are on Spotify. Just go to Spotify.com or download the app from your app store, and don't forget to follow How Did I Get Here? That's Spotify. Millions of songs, now thousands of podcasts. Go get involved. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a restful day, a restful night. I hope you guys are healthy. I hope you're safe. I hope everything's going your way as much as it can right now. Let's stay away from depressing news. Been putting out 5 shows this week. This is the 5th one. I don't know if I'm going to continue this pace next week. We got 898 coming out, which is music from the show. And we got 899, which is the best of the show. I might take the weekend to put those shows together, take a week to start putting some other things together, and maybe put out 5 shows the next week. I'm not quite sure. I'm just kind of like trying to figure it out. I did get a nice write-up in the Chronicle. They mentioned the show and another show here in town about being things you can do while you're stuck at home in a quarantine. You want to check in on the music. You want to check in on the music scene. Maybe you can come and check it out. They said some nice things. I'll post it on the How Did I Get Here Facebook page. Also, Sound Founder. That's another podcast that's here in Austin. They talked about both of our shows and how they're good. So, yeah, it's positive. It's positive. This is something you can do. You can watch all the live streaming shows. You can go listen to music. You know, these are ways you can still stay connected to the music that you want to hear. A lot of musicians are doing live streams and stuff. And today's guest, no different. They're going to be doing a very special live stream next Monday at 6 Man at 5 p.m. Eastern. You can go to their website to find out who it is. Oh, who am I talking to today? Oh, just Eleanor Whitmore and Chris Masterson from the Mastersons. They have a brand new album out called No Time for Love Songs, and it is gorgeous. It was produced by the great Shooter Jennings, who they reconnected with while they played on that last Tanya Tucker record that did so well at the Grammys and is so great and sort of brought Tanya out of the place, as Eleanor put it, Tanya motherfucking Tucker. Anyway, this album's gorgeous, and they're going for something with this record. They're going for getting through division by leading with kindness and empathy. That's kind of the point of this record. There's a point to this record, and it's gorgeous. It has a great Southern California singer-songwriter record feel. It was recorded at Sunset Sound, the legendary studio where they recorded Minute by Minute, Van Halen 1 and 2. I think the Stones did some work there. Prince had a room there for years. Anyway, I have a great conversation with Chris and Eleanor. We talked via Skype. Theirs sounds really good. They had their own microphone and stuff, and they talked into the microphone, so it's really sounds a little better than most of the normal Skype conversations. But I hope you enjoy it, and you should definitely check out their album, No Time for Love Songs. It is available wherever it is you stream and download your jams. And if you want to try and help out artists during this time, and I understand everyone's going through a hard time, but if you're in a position where you want to help out an artist, you can buy their merchandise. You can buy their No Time for Love Songs on vinyl. I think all of their records might be available on vinyl. I'm not sure. Go to the Mastersonsmusic.com, buy some merch. Maybe get they got a bandana you can use as like a face mask. Anyway, enjoy my conversation, this great conversation with these two incredibly talented and lovely people, Eleanor Whitmore and Chris Masterson. Let's get down.
I love you so much, but it's no time for love songs. We're starting to unravel at the seams. Maybe I care too much, and this world is hard enough. How come everybody's got
Hi, Johnny.
so
Hello,
mean?
Eleanor. How you doing?
Hi. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I'm hanging in there. I'm making soup.
Cool. I'm going to do some of that today.
Yeah, I figured I needed to make something that would make my house smell like somebody was doing something good in here.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm definitely have some cooking ahead of me. I've been feeling very unmotivated and have not been sleeping well. So I finally gave up and took a Xanax last night.
Yeah, I had a couple of drinks last night for the first time since this whole thing, and there was a certain amount of tension that left my spine that I enjoyed. I didn't realize how there's like almost like a claw in the top of at least my spine right now. Like I feel so tense up in my shoulders.
Oh yeah. It's funny because the first thing I started to think was like, well, I don't want to spend money on alcohol because we're going to be unemployed for a long time.
Right.
And I have a bottle of Jameson, and then Chris kept saying like, come on, don't you want to get some wine? Like you deserve some wine, get some wine. And I said no. And then
The guy that's been sober for 21
Yeah, no,
years. Is like,
I was gonna say.
just take care of yourself.
I
Like,
finally broke down and got a couple just in case, but like I haven't been drinking because I'm just like this is fucked. This like, but I feel like I need a drink, but I don't want to
Right.
spend any money on it.
Right. Yeah, I also was like, what happens if the shit goes down and I'm wasted?
Right, exactly. I thought that too. I'm like, I need to be sharp in case like we have to like I don't know what's gonna happen
I
next.
don't know what's gonna happen next. So you guys were on the road. You just put out this beautiful album, No Time for Love Songs.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
thanks.
It's I know it's kind of weird, but you know, I mean, I've noticed I've been putting out a show a day for this week because I was going to do that anyway, and my numbers are a lot bigger than they normally are. They're
That's
bigger
awesome.
than they normally are, and I feel like maybe people are sitting around listening to stuff, so maybe they're
Yeah.
listening to the record.
No, I think I think people might be consuming music and art in a different way and reading books and watching films. And I don't know. It's the only thing that it's not a lot of consolation, but I mean, this is a shared experience for
Yeah.
everyone. So I haven't really even thought about our record that much in an odd way. It's out there. I'm actually glad it's in the world right now instead of just getting ready to come out.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think people find solace in music and art, and I think the message is even more appropriate.
Well, we kind of wrote it to be commentary on the times and also comforting to people. So I'm glad that it is out there. And our fans have been really supportive. Like a lot of stuff is starting to sell out at our web store. And now we're just like, is it worth it to leave the house to go to FedEx to send more records to the
Right,
web store?
right.
I don't even know.
Yeah, that is weird because it's in this case, it's very different than a lot of the crises we've had before, where they're isolated in one location, like a hurricane or a tsunami. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 9/11 was the closest thing to this sort of like everyone freezing in their
Right.
spot.
But
But-
if you think about it, the last time we convened for a podcast,
Yeah, I know.
it was right after George Reef died.
It was like the day after, I think, or 2 days after.
and we
yeah.
decided, and I remember where I was standing when I called you, and I'm like, should we do this? And we decided yes, and that life happens, and the unforeseen happens, and all we can do. It's going to happen how it's going to happen, and what defines us is the grace with which we walk through it.
That's true. That's exactly true. Your record has a lot that was informed by a lot of loss. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You lost your dad and George and Chris Porter, and I didn't know about the bass player from the Dukes, Kelly.
Yeah, that was a very big surprise to all of us. He passed away in November of last year, and he'd been sick a little bit, but he'd also been dealing with it and going to the doctor when he needed to. And
then once we got off tour, it just got progressively worse. And so, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but you did turn your loss into beautiful art that I'm sure in some way gave you some solace.
I think that, I think by cataloging that stuff, again, we're not unique. Everybody deals with loss, and the older we get, we just deal with more. But I think by cataloging those relationships and that are with us now that we've lost, it makes us grateful for what we have and grateful for the time we get to spend together.
Yeah. That's, it's funny. I just had a similar conversation with Eliza Gilkison about her new record. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to hear it. It's not out yet, but I figured you might have.
We're label mates.
Oh, you are? So you have heard it.
I've heard the single, but we should just ask them to send it to us early.
Yeah, tell them. It's a similar. You guys are similar writers. You are writing a reflection of the times that you live in, right? Do you feel like that?
Well, that's a thank you for that.
Yeah,
she's badass.
Well, you guys are really good. I don't know how to write. I don't know. I don't want to call them protest songs, but there's like a kind of song that I always feel very unnatural trying to write, which is like, "Hey, society, we're It's very odd, but I always have such a great admiration for people that can look outside themselves and kind of like hold up a mirror to society, and be like, "Hey, this is what you're doing." This is what we're doing right now. It might not be healthy for all of us,
Yeah, and I think when we write those kind of songs, we try to pull the lens back enough to where it's not so specific. Like,
right.
I'm not going to write about who.
Right.
But you pull it back enough to where it's broad enough to where enough people can relate to it. And I think that's kind of the best way to connect with people.
Yeah. Definitely. And there is like that, there is a way to not just, there's a way of disguising the words, of using metaphors and things like this that make it more poetic and really make it more universal as opposed to the direct message, which is my problem. Because I'm like, "Hey, guy, I don't like you." You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what mine come out as.
I think the real balance in it, is you want to be honest and open enough to so the song has authenticity. If you go too general, you just sound like you don't know anything about anything.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
But
it's a real talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's one we're still trying to hone. But like Eleanor mentioned the camera lens, I think the thing about my favorite writers is they take something that's been around, whether it's a chord structure or a phrase, but they make it sound new.
Yeah.
They make it sound authentic, yet it's general enough for a lot of people to relate to it and derive different meanings out of it,
Right. So let's talk about this. You guys did this record, and it was produced by Shooter Jennings, and that relationship came about because you guys played on the Tanya Tucker record? But you guys have been friends with Shooter for years.
Well, actually, yeah. So that is just another one of those kind of beautiful connection things. In about 2009, I got a call. We were living in New York at the time, and I got a call from Shooter, and it out of the blue. I think I'd met him before at gigs, but didn't know him. But it all came through Jeff Hill and Neil Casal.
Uh-huh.
And Shooter was trying to put a New York band together, and so he called me, and we started talking, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do this." And we talked about, making a record at the now defunct Magic Shop in New York, and we settled on dates and all that stuff. And then he's like, "Well, great, I just need a fiddle player now." So I was like, "Well, hang on." Then we kind of both wound up on the project. And
what was that project?
One record. He made it turned into two records. A record called The Other Life and Family Man.
Okay.
So I think he had like a week and a half or two booked in the studio, and instead of 10 tracks, it was like 22. So it just turned into two records.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And
so go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, we never were able to play any shows live because that was about the time that we were starting up with Steve Earle. And so we got really busy with Steve and we couldn't play any of the shows with Shooter. But we just kind of, kept in touch. And over the years, we both ended up moving out to LA. And then I guess in January of 2019, he called us to play on the Tanya record. And he co-produced that with Brandi Carlile. And it was really interesting because he, Brandi has the twins, Tim and Phil Hanseroth, that play with her. Uh-huh. And then Shooter was calling us, and I was like, man, that's a lot of side people on this session. Like, how's this going to work out? And it was really an amazing experience. Like, those guys could not have been more awesome to work with. And like, just, there was no ego whatsoever. Like, everybody just kind of listened to the track and just kind of decided. We kind of all delegated our parts, and it was a really, really fun experience working with both Brandi and Shooter. But that kind of gave us the idea. We were working at Sunset Sound in Los Angeles, and we just kind of realized, like, we want to make our record with Shooter at the studio. Yeah. So.
Yeah. At the
Eleanor didn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say Eleanor. Yeah, Eleanor didn't want to drive across town either. So we live in West Hollywood, and Sunset Sound's about 8 minutes from the house. And Eleanor's like, "That's where I want to work." I'm
like, I worked in that Sunset Sound like in 1998, and the people that gave the tours there, my band, we were all from Texas, and it's you don't. Until you start going into those kind of places, when you're from Austin, you don't go to a lot of places that have a bazillion gold records on the wall. You know what I mean? Of records that you grew up listening to, made in the same room where you're working. So we were freaking out, and I feel like those guys used to make up stuff to tell us to make it more exciting. Like, people that worked there would be like, "Oh, you guys like that? Well, Prince was playing this basketball last week." You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of that stuff going on.
Well, I mean, and in the 90s, Prince had a lockout on Studio 3 for like 9 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know that you'd have to embellish that much at a place like that,
No, I guess that we were feeling a little like, like small town guys. And maybe people were just, yeah. But what an exciting place to work.
I feel like that there too.
Yeah. So,
but everyone's so super nice. So yeah, it was great. I mean, the second engineer, Nate, what's Hazley? Yeah. He seconded on the session, and he was just so cool about the project and treated us like anybody else. And like, we were sending vocal tracks to him after we'd cut it, running stuff back, and he was running stuff back to the chamber. And like, I mean, I don't know, they treated us just like I don't know, they treat anybody over there. I was
Van Halen.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this record. Is like focused on getting through the division by leading with kindness and empathy, which I think is incredible and a sentiment that we all kind of need right now. My dad, when I told him there was a long line at the grocery store, my dad screamed, "That's the Dems! That's the Dems!" Then he had to go. So I've got one of those guys as a dad. He lives in the echo chamber of like all day Rush and then all night Fox. So he's kind of in one mindset, and it's pretty feisty. There's no listening, really. Not a lot of empathy and not a lot of kindness involved with the movement.
But it's funny you mentioned
on both sides.
You mentioned Rush and the right wing pundit, not the band, and when he announced that he was sick a few weeks ago, I remember seeing that on Facebook and seeing people that were supposedly on our side of the fence,
right,
commenting saying, "Well, that's fucking great, karma's a bitch," and all this stuff, and it's like, where he still has family and relatives, and
right.
I mean, that's what kind of human beings are we if we're spouting that out? We're no less hateful than the people that we're supposedly rallying against. Exactly. That's one of the things that I'd like to see. How do you guys handle, like, my dad's like that. I just let it go in one ear and out the other, because if I choose to never talk to my dad again,
then I'll never talk to my dad again over something Rush Limbaugh might have said. That would just be too weird to live with. But at the same time, I don't know how to talk to him about it without me being combative after a little while.
Well, I have a family member that's like that, and what I had to do is just stop talking about politics with them.
Yeah,
because I realized that one of two things was going to happen. Either they were going to say something that made me combative, and then I would spout fact after fact after fact.
right.
And then I will have effectively just spent 15 or 30 minutes beating this other person down.
Yeah,
And so even if I were to win that argument, it would be a pretty hollow victory because I just spent, half an hour trying to beat a family member down.
right.
I had the opposite experience over a longer period of time with my family. Both my parents were more conservative growing up, and over the years I broke away from their point of view and started leaning into my own thoughts and beliefs about things. And it was like a real fight for a really long time. But then over time, my point of view started to sink in with them, and they started to respect it and to listen to it. And then, I was really shocked that their political views completely changed. Like in the 2016 election, they did not vote. Well, first of all, they weren't even like fans of Hillary at all, but like they voted for Bernie, which shocked me because I voted for Bernie too in the 2016 election. Well, actually, I voted for Hillary in the primaries. I voted for Bernie. Yeah, so they voted for Bernie, and then they sucked it up and they voted for Hillary. And I was just so amazed that like they didn't drink the Kool-Aid like everyone else did.
Yeah.
And it really gave me hope because they're older, and to see my parents evolve in their beliefs at that age is really a beautiful thing, and it should just inspire all of us to listen to each other and to try to just remain open instead of closed off.
Yeah.
About things.
Yeah. That's a tough line to walk.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you this one thing? You guys are like at home and like you're quarantined, you're not even wearing shoes, and you still look cooler than most people. Both of you guys. Yeah. You guys are
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry to take it there, but that's where that's where
I'm glad we did this on video. Eleanor has an interview next week that is on video, and I just wanted to get the landscape.
Yeah. Well, I feel like every single person I've talked to on this has been like, "Hey, man, I'm like in my sweats. I haven't showered in 2 days. Can we not?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not recording the video." So
I did get showered and I got dressed yesterday. That was progress.
Yeah, I did that yesterday. I've yet to. I'm gonna do like a post-soup shower, I think.
Showering is good.
A big move for me. So you guys were gonna do a bunch of South by Southwest stuff here. Mm-hmm. Am I right? And like everyone else, you canceled. You went home. You're holed up. You're doing interviews still that you can from there and sort of like promoting the record. But are you guys like, just like a logistical question, are you guys canceled like just through April with stuff?
Well, so officially we're canceled through, I guess, maybe the 15th because our show in Minneapolis just got canceled. Right after that was supposed to be dates with the Jayhawks, and we haven't heard from them. I think everybody is just kind of like
waiting and seeing.
Yeah, we're waiting and seeing, but the writing is on the wall to me. Like, we have not heard anything from Steve Earle's camp about this summer, but just listening to the news reports and also watching how people are not cooperating with these things and how, there's people on the beach in Florida, having a great time. If all those people are not taking this seriously, they're going to extend all of this nightmare. And so we may never be able to tour again. I don't know.
Yeah. We're going to be eating a lot more soup at home.
You'll be making a lot more soup. I met Shooter Jennings once at Continental Club, and he was a really nice guy. He was a really, really nice man, and ended up talking to me for a while when he didn't really need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's super cool. He's He's really laid back and I don't know, sort of soft spoken in a way. You know, he'll kind of fall into mumbling when he's talking, but he's in the studio. He's like a young Leon Russell. He plays my favorite, just kind of 70s songwriter piano.
Right.
Just sits in the right that spot. You
Yeah.
know, but he also started recording when he was in his teens. I mean, I think he was one of the first. You know, he's one of the youngest dudes around Nashville to have like a Pro Tools HD rig in his teens, and so he figured that out really young. And he's got a big box of crayons. He obviously all the country references, but then when we were making Tanya, he was doing Tanya by day and working on a Marilyn Manson record by night.
Wow, really?
You know? I know, and and those tracks sound badass. And so there's so many people that make music in a shoebox. They're like, we're going to make an Americana record, or it's going to be outlaw country, and it's just like it always seemed odd to put the art in the shoebox, you know, before it's ever been created.
Yeah.
There's a lot of freedom working with somebody like Shooter, and I don't know that there is anybody like him, but you know, just because he has so many touchstones, like, and we have a lot of touchstones in common, and like, it just, you know, we didn't have any boundaries really. We just kind of had a lot of great ideas together, and we're able to just kind of go down whatever path we wanted to.
Yeah, your record does have, and it was written that way too. But when I was listening to it, there is a Southern California songwriter record feeling to it. You know,
I think that was kind of intentional. You know, we've always kind of been pulled to the West Coast, even back to our first record. Some of our lyrics in like the other shoe or Crash Test, we've kind of alluded to going out west. Chris lived out here 20 years ago. My grandmother lived in Santa Barbara. So we've always kind of come out here a lot over the years and been pulled in this direction. And obviously there's a great musical tradition out here. And so I think that was intentional.
Yeah, and I also think, like, sonically, when I was, when we were working on the Tanya thing, which just sounds like a big classic sounding record, just sonically, you know, and so Shooter's obviously into a lot of that, and you know, he made By the Way I Forgive You, the Brandy Carlisle record with Dave Cobb, and just sonically everything kind of, you know, sort of 70s sounding drums, and it alludes to a different era without trying to be retro or, you know, phony. And so I think when we just started talking about it, I learned a lot being on the Tanya record, but then we kind of continued on with that on ours. It's just like, you know, get some great players, play live in a great studio with a great piano and a good drum room, and
capture the magic.
Yeah, and we made it quick. From, like, I think we started on October 7th, and 3 weeks later we were buttoning up the mixes. So it was stressful in a way, because we did 5 days of basics, or I mean, as much as we could get at Sunset Sound. Then we came over here and did strings and vocals. And as we would finish a song, we'd send it back to Nate at Sunset to print reverb chamber stuff, and then it would go straight to Ryland to mix. We had this sort of assembly line set up going, and it was stressful at the time, but it felt really good, and kind of like a line in the sand when we finished it. You know, we didn't have time to second guess much, that was by design.
Yeah, and now does it sit well? Like you're there's no
totally.
Like, oh man, I told you we should have. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny. Like, so Ryan Freeland, who engineered and mixed, I've been a big fan of. Like, he's done most of the Amy Mann records and all Joe Henry stuff. And so I'd never worked with him until this record. And so obviously we'd get mixes and they just sound killer. I do have, since I'm blind as a bat, I have dog ears. And so I always hear things and, you know, here's a click there. What's that? You know, and we were moving so fast, there wasn't a lot of time to obsess over it. But as we were mastering, I heard a couple of things that were just been in my ear in an odd way. And so I would call up Pete Lyman, who was mastering, and be like, hey, man, at the last chorus on this song, there's a tiny little click in the left channel. And, you know, and he'd finally be like, yeah, if I squint, I can hear it.
Yeah.
And you know, in hindsight, as we were walking the dog last night, and I was just like, man, this stuff is like, I mean, you want to make good sounding art, but at the same time, you try not to sweat the small shit.
Yeah. Well, the record really, like, I'm glad that you guys recorded live, like a band playing. Who's it? Mark Stepro is the guy that played drums, and Tyler Chester played bass?
Well, Tyler played he played bass and keys. So we actually had Bonnie and Whitmore, Eleanor's
great.
sister, there.
Excellent.
So we kind of did it like the Tanya record, where everyone would get around the piano and we'd learn the song, and then like Bonnie would play. She played bass on half the record and sang on a couple of the other tracks, and then Tyler would go to keys, like he'd be on Mellotron or Whirly, and then Shooter was on piano the whole time. So we just kind of decided what would serve each song the best.
Yeah, you were going to say something, Eleanor? Looked like you were leaning into.
No.
How's Bonnie doing? I haven't seen her in a while.
Well, she was out with us on this run
Tour,
that got
right.
canceled, and she's good. She's kind of holed up at home. I was just talking to her last night about all of the live streaming that everybody's doing now, because it's our only source of income or our only way to kind of keep performing. And she was kind of concerned about her audio situation, so I think we're going to try to FedEx her one of our Apogee mics so that she can have a little bit of a better sound for her live streaming. But yeah, she's good. We're all just kind of in the same boat.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, it's just you could sit around and think about how sad you are that all your dates are canceled and everybody else's dates are canceled. We're all in the same situation.
Yeah. Yeah. There also is like if you guys, what do you do to stay productive and busy during this time?
Man, we've only had a few days to get into a routine, because we were on the East Coast, and then we flew to Austin and grabbed the dog in the van and then came back to LA. But I think each day's been a little better in a sense. It's like Eleanor mentioned yesterday, we got up and we did a podcast, Joe Pug's podcast, and then like both took showers and got cleaned up for the day, and you make your bed. And like this morning I got up and we have some sessions from here. So I downloaded and prepared some sessions, and then I was kind of just doing some work around the studio, and I realized that a couple hours had gone by, and I'm like, wow, okay. And I had some music playing. I was just like, I don't know, I think, I want to be informed and hip to what all's going on. But I think, just sitting around and looking at one's device is not,
and that's kind of, it's really hard because you want to just like keep checking in and like checking in on your friends, and you're reading Facebook and reading the news and starting to freak out. And that's like not a good place to be. So I kind of feel like if we can all just kind of hunker down and create a routine for ourselves, try to get some exercise, and, try to, I don't know, be as healthy as we can mentally at home, instead of kind of getting into that, circular thing of like freaking out about
dread.
All of this.
Yeah. Just like that weird, overwhelming feeling of dread, impending doom.
Right. And that's not, it's not productive.
No, it's not at all.
And the funny thing is, the second song on the record is called Spellbound.
Yeah.
And we futzed around with that chorus a bunch as we were writing it. And, fear, and it said it concludes with, fear is the devil, but it's better than the devil you don't. So if you think about what we were arguing about 3 weeks ago or whatever,
yeah.
There's always going to be something unforeseen that comes and bites us in the ass.
Yeah.
And even now, it's like, there's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to be stressed about. It's just all there.
Our dog Shakti is 16, and I am just so grateful to be at home with her right now. I in my mind, as we were getting all these tour dates together, I was just kind of dreading being away from her and at this time in her life. And, as self-employed people, like there's just no other way around it. And she's kind of to the point where we can't take her with us because she's so frail.
Right.
And, so if there is a silver lining, we have a gift of being home with her right now at this time in her life. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
I've joked that this is a conspiracy of pets to keep us at home.
I've noticed that my dog lives with his mom. I have a doggy mama, but I've been going over there to visit him and spending. He's 14, and getting up there, same kind of thing. He's a big dog, so trying to enjoy what we can from him while he's here. Are you guys going to be doing any live streaming from there?
Absolutely. We've just been, I mean, just getting home from Austin was pretty exhausting. I didn't even sleep. We stopped in Fort Stockton and I laid awake for 6 hours and finally just gave up and started driving again. But yeah, I think we're getting there. I'm trying to get motivated. I've kind of been working through the sadness and the soup of my emotions. And but yeah, we're getting set up here. We've got.
I think on Monday. Is this going to air when?
I think I might just put it out tomorrow, if that's okay.
Okay, cool.
So Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we're doing part of a series presented by Six, and they do the Cayamo cruise and Outlaw cruise, and we'll have it up on our webpage. But we're going to go live. They have a series called Mi Casa Su Casa, and they've been taking some of their artists and having them do live stream stuff. So yeah, we're going to do that Monday at 5, and then we'll probably start doing some of our own stuff after that.
And then I think I'm going to have to double check on this, but I think on Thursday, April 2nd, and we're going to join Bonnie as her guest for her residency. She did the gallery residency at the Continental Club every Thursday night. So now she's doing it every Thursday from 8:30 to 10 with a guest each week. And I think Barbara Nesbitt is her guest tonight. And then I forget who's next week. And then we're the week after that. And she's got a bunch of great people lined up. And so we'll be joining her. And then we'll be doing some stuff from the house here shortly. We just... it's crazy. We had like an amp that we needed to power our new speakers that we got that we had in the shop, and we're going to go pick it up and, so that our studio here was working, and then we picked it up and it's not even fixed. And I'm like, so we're kind of working through some technical difficulties, but yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, and we also had so many tour dates on the books. Things were just sort of decommissioned around here. So I was like, okay, let's get home. Let's pull all the guitars out and figure out how to be creative.
Right. Yeah. It takes a little while. I started messing around creatively yesterday.
Awesome. And we even have there's a whole batch of songs that didn't make this record that we were already planning on doing an EP, and we had planned on doing it in Houston while we were there next week, but obviously that's not happening. And we've got a great studio at home, and we can do it from home. And so we've got a lot of stuff to keep us busy, and to keep people engaged. And we'll just have to see.
I just lost my train of thought. I was about to say something and I lost my train of thought. Where in Houston were you going to record it? Live?
No, our friend Steve Christensen.
Oh yeah,
So Steve engineered our first record. He worked on our third record, and we had this EP idea that we're working on, and we had a day off in between our Cactus Records in store and our Mucky Duck show, and so I was like, well, let's go record an EP that day. But
maybe you can do it now.
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to ask you, with your studio at home there, you were saying you had a session that somebody had sent you, Chris. Do you guys play on a lot of people's records remotely like that?
We do, and I mean, it's been a little intermittent because of our touring schedule.
Right. But
I mean, we have a handful of producers we work with, and a lot of instruments and some good gear around here, and I'm hoping that we'll be doing more of it. But it's served us well. I mean, even working on, like, say, our record, where the bulk of the record is done in a big expensive studio, and you can't replicate that sound.
No.
But if you're adding a vocal part or sitting around with a mellotron or a violin, it's pretty easy to add to that. So working remotely has been kind of part of our business model for a while.
Yeah. Have you guys, do you guys, when you recut your vocals, those harmonies are so close. I don't know if I've ever asked you this before, but do you ever sing them? Do you sing them together, Or do you sing
Well,
them at the same time, on the same mic, on separate mics at different times?
Well, so this record was a little different, partially because the way Ryan mic'd things up in the studio, Ryan Freeland, like he had, for as organic as his records sound, he uses a lot of mics. And, there's like a condenser and a ribbon mic on everything. So our vocal booth had, like 8 mics in it.
It kind of looked like a spaceship, and so it was hard for us to get as close as we normally are, because usually we'll have 2 mics, but we'll be singing at the same time, but we'll be kind of close enough in the room with an ear off,
Right.
So we can hear each other. And we were kind of too far away to do that. So a lot of the vocals that we got in the studio at Sunset Sound, we didn't end up using.
There's a couple songs
there's
that
a couple.
were live.
And so, then we came home and we were kind of trying to replicate that same thing with the 2 mics and just our situation here at the house and the way the room sounds. And so we ended up doing the vocals separately, which actually kind of took a lot more time for us to capture.
It took time, but I think it again, it was one of those things that seemed stressful as it was going down because we had this self-imposed deadline. But it made for better art.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised, even though it was kind of more painful to realize, oh, wow, I'm actually singing sharp without Chris. Because it's funny, when we sing together, we are adjusting to each other. But when we sing separately, we don't have that interaction. And so it's just really interesting.
This is actually amazing because we call Eleanor the pitch bitch. And she just admitted on podcast that she was singing something sharp. This is I do that shit all the time, so that's no surprise.
Yeah.
But
Well, that happens. Well, there's something about when you're listening to your music, and I don't know if you're cognizant of this, but there is that sort of feeling of when you close your eyes listening to the Mastersons, you imagine you two facing each other singing on one mic. You know what I mean?
that's the easiest way to make it happen. It's you get on the field a lot faster when you're doing that. I think sometimes circumstances don't allow you to do that, but that's the fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
But I do have to say that the way we did it is, I'm the happiest that I ever have been about our vocals on our record. I think there's a lot of things that I wish we could have done differently on past records, and this is definitely the best result that we've ever gotten. So
That's great.
And I would be remiss to not mention our friend Angel M, who helped us engineer here at the house. She spent a lot of hours with us getting these vocals and string parts, and she is like the MVP of finishing this record.
Yeah,
for sure.
She's really become like this amazing engineer. I knew her when she lived here. She and I were pals, and we used to do shows together and sing together all the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she kicked ass. And I don't think I'd ever met her until Eleanor had hung out through some other friends, and we knew that like when we're working here, if Eleanor were, say, cutting a string part, I love engineering, but I don't like engineering when I'm tracking.
Yeah.
So we knew that we wanted to have someone come over, and I think for someone to share that kind of space with a married couple, it takes the right kind of person. And Eleanor mentioned Angel and was like, yeah, let's do it. And she came by Sunset one of the days, and it was a good fit. And she came over, and helped us button the thing up.
That's fantastic. Is she working at a studio there? Like
she has her own
Well,
she has her own place.
Okay.
And then I think she works at she stays pretty busy. So
yeah, she just had some kind of feature in Billboard. She was working with I think Alicia Keys had some kind of like all women camp or something. I'm sorry if I'm not describing it right, but Angel was part of that as an engineer, and she's crushing it.
That's awesome.
So
she's a person that definitely is so in tune to music. I remember doing a show with her one time at like Flipnotics here in Austin. We were sitting next to each other, and I'm strumming and playing a song, and she reached over and tuned my G string while I was playing. It's the only person I've actually experienced someone doing that a couple of months ago too. but I don't hear. I can tell when something's out of tune, but I can't tell you what string it is and then turn it.
What it is.
Yeah, she's a genius like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really great.
Well, that's
Eleanor
great
is
to
pretty
hear.
good like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Did they both like drive you crazy or like stay on your ass about
No.
shit? Oh.
No, I think we figured out a workflow. We got to work on the first day, and I think we just kind of figured out a way to do it. And like, I tend to be like, when I'm working in Pro Tools, I like 3 playlists, or nothing more. And I'm pretty old school in that I don't ask the computer to do much more than I would ask a tape machine.
Right. I respect that.
And then I think modern recordists, and there's no wrong or right way to do this. But then some people will just capture everything and then do these marathon comping sessions, and I just cannot do that.
Yeah.
So there were a few times where they did record a lot, and whether it be my vocal or Eleanor's vocal, and then they'd start comping, and I'd just go in the other room and read. Eleanor learned to comp.
I learned how to comp.
That's great.
So I actually worked on my engineering skills a little bit. So that's exciting. And I guess I can look forward to a lot of that now that we are sequestered.
Do you guys when you're going through that, just as a question, because I've never been that great at comping. A lot of times if something's roughly similar, I can't really tell the difference when I'm doing that even on my own stuff. But what do you look for outside of pitch? What do you look for?
Emotion,
Yeah.
gravitas. I don't know. Sometimes it could be even how someone's voice cracks on a certain word. Maybe it's the imperfection that steers you towards it.
Yeah.
But that's why I like ABC. And anything that doesn't meet that bar, that level of acceptance, I don't want it recorded. I want it erased.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting when you comp, though. Like, you'll realize, oh, shoot, he sang that too long here, or, you can't marry
Right.
the two takes. And so you're like, sorry, you got to sing it again.
Yeah.
But see, I'm okay with that. I would rather like sing it again. That's
Right.
not good. Than,
Yeah.
oh yeah, keep going. Like I don't know. Like,
It's hard to tell in the moment sometimes.
but it's awesome, and the fact that we can do that at home is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The good thing about home recording is anyone can do it, and the bad thing about home recording is anyone can do it.
Yeah, that is true. That's the evil. I'm glad that Angel is out there doing that, and she's sort of so open and public about it, because I feel like a lot of women have never been steered in that direction or moved in that direction themselves to that sort of technicality side of it. But there's what I mean? Like, I've never understood why not.
Yeah, and well, a lot
mean,
of reasons.
I do-
there's still. She even just kind of stories she was telling me about different producers and engineers, male producers, that she had worked with, and people just, being inappropriate and having to quit a situation because
That sucks.
of sexual harassment. And, there is a lot of that. And, she has just really gotten into a lot of mentoring and other women, and, just really encouraging a lot of other women to come up and do this.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I've never. It's weird. Once you get in the technical side of music, there's not a lot of women in there. So
There's some badass ones, though.
There
I
are
mean, like,
very badass ones. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, and I've never worked with her, but Trina Shoemaker.
Me too.
One of
Yeah.
my favorite mixers out there.
Yeah.
And like she did the Tanya record.
Oh, really?
But, and I think a couple of Brandy Carlisle's records, and so I'm a big fan of her work. And I think there's I don't know, there's an attention to detail, that feminine touch I think is pretty badass. And also, like, some engineers, some dudes just are so dry because they're engineers, they're not musos, and,
Right.
And like sometimes that's not the funnest thing either. Like I like people that are like, especially here. So we're going to be in this relatively small space. You're kind of in what is our dining room and control room, and we have a pretty big living room that we track in. But like, it's like you're going to come share this space with us and our dog. It's like, you better be good at what you do, but you better be a good hang.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And she
Angel is-
definitely fit that bill.
Yeah.
Well, and she's also a great singer, so she just had a lot of really great suggestions as we were tracking. So got to give her props for that.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you like? I feel like you guys are at that same level of talent. Do you feel like do you feel like you were born with some kind of proclivity to pitch and to music?
Sure.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think natural talent is totally a thing, but I think it also needs to be harnessed and
Sure.
refined.
Right.
And when I'm still doing that.
Right. But there's something like, I mean, when I'm the Angel I'm talking about was like 20 years ago, and she still was like zeroed in and way better than me at pitch things and stuff like that. That I was always like, man, she was born like that. And like people like, there's just people that I feel like you were born with some ability to do this or some proclivity to do this. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, and Eleanor's razor sharp with it, but then like Shooter was talking. I think the guy that shot the video stuff was, talking to Shooter about us, and I think he said that we both brought like this crazy intonation to things we played on. Like, I don't know. It's something that can always, we can always get better at what we do.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of playing music is listening, and as much or more than like, I'm going to play this hot lick right here.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if I bear into this chord, does it fit with everything?
Right.
And if not, what can I do? Like, if I'm playing a Telecaster, I can wiggle the neck around and kind of give a vibrato that will make it fit.
Right.
Or, I don't know. I think you're just a good musician is always listening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Have you guys ever produced anything together as a production team?
I think we do. We already do. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever the credit says at the end of the record is
Right.
I've never gotten a production credit, but I definitely feel like I make my mark.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the old school, like the studio cats that we grew up listening to. You mean like that,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, our first record, we just gave credit to everybody in the room. And
Sure.
I mean, you could sit down and go, well, I did this, this, and this. But the thing about it is I think, actually, I was just listening to Tony Berg talk about this last night. He's like, a good producer will sit and listen to something that they did and not hear their parts, their contributions. They'll listen as a whole. So
Yeah.
they're not saying, well, there's my guitar lick. It really made
right.
the song. Like, I think a great production is the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of small decisions that were made. Not every decision is important, but if you can make, 900 of the thousands decisions in a good way, it's going to sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like the first record, we just let everybody in the room have it. I don't know. The second record was Jim Scott. The third
Right.
record, I wanted to do with George.
Right.
We did that as a co-production thing.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, even on that record, like I felt like I had just as much of an opinion about the drum parts, and I think it was, it's really neat when you get together with other people just to see what everybody can contribute. And
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the production think tank as opposed to one guy telling everyone what to do. It's a good
absolutely.
You trust
But
the
I do have-
people you surround yourself with, you're going to come up with stuff that you feel good about doing. Go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
Oh no! I was gonna mention Shooter again, and Jim Scott really though. But when you get around someone there's certain people I've been lucky enough to work with that are able to, whether they're sitting in the control room or out on the floor, they have this bird's eye view of the session, and not just star vocal. They're listening to everybody simultaneously, and like Shooter did it on the Tanya record where he was playing piano the whole time, and the way one of those days would work is we'd like learn a song, we would try it in 3 or 4 keys before Tanya even got to the studio, just trying to, Brandy would be singing or Eleanor would jump in and go, guest sing, and like just trying to guesstimate where the song needed to sit. And Shooter would be at the piano, like having transposed 4 times, playing an F sharp.
Right.
But he'd look over to the drummer and say, "Hey man, on chorus 3, halfway through, could you open up the hat just a tiny bit, but not too much?" And it's like, and those guys are just fucking amaze me. It's like, how do you not only focus on your part and how you fit into the ensemble, but you're listening to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
And Jim Scott was the same way. And he could come back in after you play a song 4 times. It's like, you guys were singing it the best on take 3, but George was playing his ass off. In the second verse on take 2 was my favorite bass. And
Jim would actually make like a grid. He would take the lyric sheets and then he would make a grid, and then he would be taking notes as we would do each pass, and he would say, okay, the bass is the take on take 2 and the vocals are the best take on take 3. And then he would say, okay, everybody go to the bar. And at his studio at Pliers, he's got this like great bar situation out there. So we'd all go and relax, and while they would like kind of piece it back together. And then you'd all come into the control room and listen back, and you'd be like, wow, awesome. That sounds great. And you'd be high-fiving, and then you'd move on.
So I think if someone were lucky enough to have someone with that sense of the big picture, be their shepherd to get through a session, it's a pretty amazing, it's a treat for sure.
Yeah, for sure. How was it working with Tanya Tucker? Did you get to spend some time with her, or a lot of time with her?
Yeah, she was rad. She was just like, I mean, she's everything you would hope she would be, like she'd roll in and and she'd have her, her crew with her, and she had her dogs on the tour bus, and she'd be late because she had gone to get her hair did, and I don't, still drinking and smoking, and I don't know, but for all the sort of wild country, stuff, the moment she opened her mouth, it, like, we could have this take, like I said, we'd play things in the morning and like come up with the template or come up with the take even, and Brandy would be singing, who's badass, but then Tanya would come and sing it, and it would just floor you instantly.
That's amazing.
There's something that's in her voice that's that not everyone gets to have.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just, and so to be sitting at your station and have that coming through your headphones is just such a treat.
Hair would just stand up on your arms. I mean, it'd be one thing. I mean, you'd be kind of working on the track, figuring out what key and parts and stuff during the day before she came in with Brandy singing, which is amazing. And then, you're already thinking, wow, this is going to be great. And then Tanya would come in and sing, and you'd just be like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And every track was like that. So, if you picture a great band with great instruments recording through a great console at Sunset Sound. So even just, the rough takes or the sound check sounds good.
Yeah.
And then Brandy would start singing and it sounds like a record.
Yeah.
And then someone like Tanya Tucker can elevate it even from there.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, because Chris, you and I are relatively the same age, but I remember when she came out, and I remember, I mean, there was a push where even an 8-year-old or 7-year-old kid, or however old I was, I knew her name. I knew what the album looked like. And like, you know what I mean? I saw her on TV. I knew who she was.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. But, and my dad had a lot of country music in the house. It seemed like it was a little later for me when I was more aware. And then after Delta Dawn, she made a lot of stuff that was, kind of wild and trashy sounding.
Right.
I mean, and it to me, it's like when getting to do this While I'm Living record with her was the closest thing to like a Delta Dawn type record that she's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that Brandy and Shooter really, like, they just made her voice the centerpiece, and everything else was just supporting that. And I think a lot of her past records, kind of in between Delta Dawn and this one, didn't put her voice at the forefront. It's a lot of scorching guitar and stuff like that. I think that's why this record has been so well received, is because it really puts her at the centerpiece.
Well, it's really great. I remember when I first became aware of it, I was like, oh, wow. So I went and I listened to it, and I was just like, wow, she's amazing. She is Tanya Tucker. You know what I mean?
Tanya motherfucking Tucker.
Yeah, no shit.
And I think I heard it might have been on the Broken Record. I heard on a podcast Brandy was talking about it, and I think she called Rick Rubin for advice leading up to this stuff. And Rick has been so good. If you think of the Cash records and the things that that he's brought out in these legacy performers, but he's
So I'm sorry that Brandy called him, or to ask his advice on.
Yeah, I mean, they were friends and have worked together. I forget where I heard that, but yeah.
That seems like he had a good hand. And I mean, this really was a quote unquote comeback record for her. I mean, she's won a Grammy. She's out there.
Two of them.
Two of them. Yeah. Jesus. That's amazing. Well, is there anything I'm missing? This record your record's gorgeous. You guys did a great job. Shooter did a great job. Bonnie did a great job. All the gang that played on it did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It feels, like I say, I'm glad it's out and not coming out. It's I mean, in a weird way, if I wanted to get dour or down on things, I could go, well, all this stuff happened after 1 week after the record came out. But that said, it's out in the world. We've heard from fans that say it's provided solace. I think it was like our best first week ever. We got a call from our guy at the label, and he's just like, it's number 18 on the Billboard Americana charts, right by the Highwomen, and Marcus King, other artists we respect very much, and it's it was a weird time for music before this happened, and it's still a weird time, and we've all got a lot to figure out, but we all have each other, so.
Yeah, and I guess I should just mention the title track, No Time for Love Songs. It is a love song.
Yeah.
It is, just kind of commenting on all of the crazy shit that's going on and calling for love and kindness and empathy. So I really do hope that it can provide anybody some solace during this time, because this is going to be hard for everyone, I think.
Yeah. I felt a very special connection with Circle the Sun. That was so far my favorite track. So, like when you listen to a record and you go through it, you find different favorites.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my favorite right now.
That one we wrote for George.
Yeah, I kind of felt that. I feel like that's connected with that, and yeah.
That's awesome.
He was a beautiful dude. Is there anything I'm missing? This has been great catching up with you guys. It's nice to see you sitting there on that couch so comfortable.
Well, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, it's just I mean, I'm in shorts. You can't see it, but
I'm so happy to talk to you. I mean, and this has been really cool. Just the past couple of days, I've talked to some of my dearest friends that I never talked to.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to teach us a lot. I think we're going to do a lot of reflecting, a lot of connecting, and it's going to kind of force us to all be a lot more creative about our workarounds in this situation, and hopefully we'll all be better for it.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think this should definitely inspire some kindness and empathy in people, because we're all in the same boat.
We sure are. And we'll be on, I guess we'll be on our Facebook page, and I know we're doing a thing for Six Man on Monday at 5 Eastern, and if one were so inclined, they could go to our website, which is themastersonsmusic.com.
Yes.
There's there's all kinds of stuff up there. There's orange and purple swirled vinyl, and about a spring's worth of tour merch up for sale on there.
We've got bandanas if you can't find a mask.
Oh, that sounds good.
You think of those little things, and they were just like logistical nightmares, but it's like, oh God, we have all this merch all over the East Coast and sitting in Austin. So we just sent stuff to our web store, and I don't know, if if someone has the time and the wherewithal, pick up a record or a T-shirt, and if not, stream it.
Yeah. Also, you guys had a chance to sign some records. I saw.
Yeah,
Are they available
there's-
at Waterloo? Where people
Oh yeah,
can do
that was another thing that was
drive-through.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Canceling the Waterloo and the Cactus music in stores.
And I think you can buy the record online on both of their websites. So if people are inclined to support their local record store, we definitely encourage that.
Yeah, that's a double down, supporting you guys and the record store.
Yeah. So either way, it was so sad. We went to Waterloo on, I think it was Sunday, and we just went in the office, and instead of doing our big in-store, we just signed some records and took a little video, and we wanted to do that, because we love everybody over there,
Yeah.
and it was the least we could do, actually the most we could do, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So,
I love both of those record stores a lot. I've been friends with Quinn, who reopened Cactus and basically gave it new life. Like, I worked at Cactus used to be next to Whole Foods there on the
I
Alabama.
remember that.
I worked at Whole Foods and he worked at Cactus, and we were both in bands, and we were around each other a lot, like in our early 20s, late teens.
Oh, I grew up, buying records in Houston at Cactus and Soundwaves. And I remember doing an in-store back in 2012, and I think we had got to Cactus, and it was one of the first vinyl copies I'd seen of our record, Birds Fly South. And standing in the record store where you bought all your records as a kid, holding your own LP, like that felt fucking cooler than playing Carnegie Hall.
Definitely. That's funny. Yeah, I got so many records growing up at Cactus. My aunt used to live down the street from the old one too. Yeah, it's awesome.
So yeah, we really, I hope that, there's talk of postponing that stuff until May, but I think so much is up in the air now, more will be revealed.
Well, if the tour does pick up and you get to do that Jayhawks thing, I'm super excited, because I'm going to try and either see you at Sam's or at 310 here.
Awesome. Yeah, no, those Jayhawks dates are so much fun, and like we were we did 4 of them, because they're just kind of doing long weekends, and
right.
Like by the end of it, Gary was like, "Oh, come up and sit in, you guys." So the first night I think we sat in on one encore, but I think the last night we played 4 songs, and Gary was like, "Man, I'm gonna have you up on this whole show before the end of this."
That's awesome.
Bonnie even got to.
Bonnie was playing bass.
Oh, that's great.
But Gary was asking about Golden Smog songs. He's like, "Hey, have you ever heard this song?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know it."
Yeah.
Like I'm such a fan. Like, so I hope we get to do some more of those.
Me too. Well, good luck with everything. Stay safe and healthy.
Oh, thanks for having us, man.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for doing it. And hopefully I'll get to see you guys face to face before too long.
Yeah.
So too.
All right. Well, thanks so much, you guys. Take care.
You too, man.
Too much, and this world is hard enough. Price is high in the land of the free. I can't stand
Eleanor
to
Whitmore
see
and Chris Masterson, better known as the Mastersons. Always so great getting to catch up with them. I have tremendous affection for those people, and I am in awe of their just amazing talent. And they are the nicest people. Their new album, No Time for Love Songs, available now wherever it is you stream and download your jams. And don't forget, you can get this album on vinyl. You can get it on signed vinyl, going through the Waterloo website and ordering it there. And then you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're helping out a record store. Also, Cactus Music in Houston. I believe they probably still have some signed ones at Waterloo. So anyway, they do have a lot of merch. Help them keep it up. Listen to this record, No Time for Love Songs. A really, really beautiful record. Amazing album. And getting through the division by leading with kindness and empathy. That's what they're all about. And I'm signing up on that boat myself. Totally. Get out there and check out the Mastersons' No Time for Love Songs. And don't forget, when you're checking out the mastersonsmusic.com, don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Spotify, Stitcher. We are now on YouTube. I don't think that YouTube is keeping up with the every show every day, so there's still tons of shows out there. And if you want to get into How Did I Get Here, don't forget you can go to our website, howdidigethere.podbean.com, and all 800 or 900, however many episodes are up. 896 episodes are up. This is episode 897. So you can find them all there on the right-hand column. There's months and years. Get in there. Check it out. I want to thank Eleanor and Chris for talking to me. I've had a great time doing these 5 shows this week. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about next week, but I do know that our next episode is music from the podcast, from the last 100 episodes, from 800 to 897. So I'll play you some music from that next week. And then there'll be episode 899, which is the best of the conversations. And yeah, we're going to get into this. We're going to get through this together, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. Go out there and check out the Mastersons' No Time for Love songs. Buy some merch at themastersonsmusic.com if you can. Everyone needs some help right now. Produced by Shooter Jennings. Amazing record, man. Check it out. It's beautiful. Have a great weekend, okay? Or whatever you're going to do. Like, maybe it's not going to be great. Tolerate the weekend, you know? Reach out to people you love. Tell them you love them. It's been nice talking to people all week. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Much, and this world is hard enough. Try and find a better way for you and me. We might not see eye to eye, but I love you just the same. Let's stick together instead of trying to place the blame. Though we may not agree, I know there's hope for you and me to seek salvation